And we are finally back. I do want to just say though, I do apologize. My mic is going to sound a little bit weird. I basically have a new one because my last one was, you might have noticed my last videos, sometimes it sounded a little bit staticky, and basically shortly after I recorded my last video, the mic just kind of died. So yeah, I've got a new mic and it's a completely different one, and it's not really happy with my sound settings from my old mic. I kind of just wish I'd got my another one of my old mics and just called it a day, because this one is it's very sensitive. It picks up everything, absolutely everything. So yeah, I do apologize if things sound a little bit weird. I am going to try and sort it for the next episode, because I've played about with it for a little bit, maybe about a couple of hours, maybe like 1 or 2 hours to be honest, and I just can't get it to sound any better than this at the moment. It probably doesn't help that, I'll be honest, I don't really know much, and I just watched a couple of YouTube videos and some of them made it worse, some of them made it kind of better, and yeah, it's just quite annoying basically. Anyways, let's actually get into today's episode, shall we? This was actually meant to be out last week, but I'll be honest, I really struggled with this episode. I don't know why. I built this dock, this harbour, so many different times, and it just, I don't know. I just I did have it originally recorded for like last week, and I just wasn't happy with any of it, to be honest. You know, when you build something and then you keep looking at it and you're like, I don't really like this, and I figured, well, if I don't like it, I don't really want to release it for people to view, because I only want to release what I like and what I think looks good, and if I don't think it looks good, then I just don't want to release it, to be honest. So after maybe, I don't know, I spent like one day just building like this tiny section here, a couple of, well, not a couple of different ways, because I'm obviously going off of Google, so I'm trying to stick to a certain format, but with like different buildings. And then I started to scour the workshop a little bit and other little bits and bobs, and yeah, it was just all around one giant headache. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of glad that I'm finished with this harbour now, because I don't ever want to come back. So yeah, what I was actually really, the worst thing is actually, I was really excited to build this, because I was like, okay, I've never done like a proper harbour, like mixing multiple different like dock parts together, and other little bits and bobs, and I was quite excited to do it. And that excitement left me very, very quickly. But as you can tell, we got through it. We've managed to finish. Admittedly, I wasn't too sure if I was going to finish the right hand side of the harbour, or if I was just gonna call it quits on the middle and the left hand side, but I did end up going back kind of towards the end, because it's a little bit shorter, if you will, like how quick I build the right hand side, because it's just going to be a couple of houses and a couple of warehouses and some fishing stuff. But yeah, I didn't go too much into detail with that, because it was kind of a lot of the same as this side, and I figured, you know, you've already kind of seen it, so let's just do like a top-down view of the right hand side getting built up. And I also thought this might be a good time to actually see if you would, if you prefer it being viewed, if you prefer it being built from above, and me just kind of putting stuff into place and putting the decals down and the props down, and we just kind of keep the camera still for certain parts of it and only really zoom in when we need to. I'm kind of curious to see if you kind of prefer this format of me building, or if you prefer the other format. I'm going to leave a timestamp in the description, and I would very much appreciate it if you could kind of just skip to it if you don't want to watch it all, or you just came here for the cinematics, or whatever you kind of came here for, really. But if you could just jump to that part in this description. I don't know what I'm going to label it, but I'm sure you'll be able to tell. I'll name it something super obvious. But it really helped me out to see if people either just don't care, or if they do care. It just helped me out, because if you prefer the other way of building, I could obviously put more into an episode, and I could obviously build bigger places, and then I could kind of build how I am now. When we build like specific projects, like if we make like a mall made out of like pure PO, or if we're just building something that's going to be a lot of like PO work and a lot of prop work and all that type of stuff, then I can build it kind of how I am now, instead of like just top down and stuff like that. So yeah, obviously let me know if you want to. If you don't want to, then that's fine by me. Anyways, I did actually, funnily enough, I don't know how, I don't know if I just forgot to record or I deleted it. I can't see myself deleting it though. I know I deleted some old footage that I did have, but as you can see, these little cranes that are painted that go into the water, I don't really sure how I changed them to look like that, because I just couldn't find the footage anywhere. So I'm thinking I probably forgot to record. Probably while I do a lot of like, I'll disappear and I'll come back with some like food, and then I'll start building again, and sometimes I forget to look at my desktop to see if OBS has a little red light next to it to say that it's recording. And I'll just start building, and then sometimes like an hour or something has passed, and I'm like, okay, time to stop the recording. I'll go and take a little break, do something else for a bit, and then I'm like, oh, I wasn't recording. But no, this time I don't know what happened. Honestly, I actually don't know what happened. I'm just gonna roll with the punches on that one and just kind of go with it, because I have absolutely no idea. Now, I am gonna say I actually really love this area that I'm just detailing up at the moment with all these props, because it made it look a lot more. There was actually a lot of these places actually around this harbour where there was just like stockpiles of like bags, boxes, bricks, it looked like sandbags, just kind of everywhere, looking like they were using not only the warehouses as storage, but they were using outside as well. And I just thought that after I actually started detailing it, that it just added so much more realism to the dock than what I was expecting. Because while I was like kind of like placing these down, I was like, I don't know, they kind of look, and I know they're here on Google Earth, but they kind of like looked a little bit out of place while I was doing it. And I always have to say to myself, like, just wait until like you put the finishing touches around it, because that's when it really starts to like come together. I know sometimes when I'm trying to do the layout of like a city center or a little village, or just kind of like anything, and I'm just throwing down buildings like little placeholders, not going too much into detail, but just kind of testing like kind of what it'd look like. I'm always like, I'm not really too sure. But then when you start like painting the ground like this, putting the bushes around, adding in the dirt on the ground, putting in a few more of the decals as well, and you just start fine-tuning it a little bit, I feel that it just kind of, it really starts to come into its own. And I was just really happy with this, to be honest. And we do pretty much something very similar to this at the other part of the dock, which is just the harbour, sorry, which is just kind of like south of like this location. And we're basically just gonna kind of do the same thing there. We're gonna put like a load of in fact, actually it's right here, but what I'm doing pretty much first, I was just gonna snap it all in, but I figured people might be interested to kind of see how I kind of went about it. And I use these they're called breakwater, if you search it in on Steam. And I'm basically made them out of PO, shrunk the size of them because they're quite massive, without being shrunk down a little bit. And I really wanted to shrink them down a little bit because they were the perfect size and shape of the actual sea wall that went around the bottom part that was there on Google. So I was like, well, I don't want to make them out of PO because I'm trying to save PO for like other things later on, but I was like, okay, I've got to use PO for this. So I went ahead. Not only that, I've had to use quite a little bit of PO for the Harbour anyway, but it's all good. We're only like 120 PO items in, and for it being the third episode, I think that's pretty good, to be fair, for me, considering we'd be on about 1,000 by now if I was building how I used to build. This, I'm going to call it a thing because I'm still kind of not happy, and I might probably replace it off camera with something else that I might find on the workshop at some point when I look. But I was looking for this container because I noticed that they had like these sand storages at both parts of the harbour, and I wasn't too sure how I was going to make the grid around it with the networks that I had and the props that I had. And then I've realized that I had this skip, and it was kind of like the right color, the right thickness, and yeah, as you can see, we just PO'd it and just put it into place, really. I know, more PO, right? But no, I'm being good with it, I promise. This is actually a new asset that I had to go onto the workshop for. They're them stone bricks. Because I noticed on Google Earth, they actually had stone bricks like that, but they had like two handles out the top. So obviously you'd put the forklift through them, and then that's how they'd get carried around, I imagine, or maybe something like that. I'm probably completely wrong, but yeah. So I had to go and look for that type of asset because I was going to make them out of PO, out of another object. And I realized that I like what I said, I want to limit how much PO I'm using. So I'm trying to find workarounds for it, like other props that I can use for it, and just kind of like all that type of stuff. Because I loved Projector Eye. It had its faults and it did have its failures in places, but it was never meant to have turned into a city, and I have no one else to blame for that but myself. But you live and you learn, and we learned a lot from Projector Eye, so in my books it was a good thing regardless. And the stuff that I learned from that is going to help me build this new series up, and I already feel like it's going massively better. I feel like the places are looking a lot more realistic. It probably helps that I'm trying to not just use these detail bushes over and over and over again. I am trying to mix like other different bushes together. I still need to look on the workshop because I want to see if I can find some more and other bushes that are like a decent green, because I've noticed that there's some bushes on the workshop that are like, they're either really light or they're super dark. But then again, maybe if I mix them together and I can get like a really good blend of them kind of going. Because I've noticed that I've tried to do that with the trees. Normally I just use the shore trees and that's about it. Whereas now I'm trying to mix in like the general trees, some forest trees, some other forest trees that I've got, as well as the shore trees all together. And then I've also got some mountain ones that I'm putting further up in the mountain, obviously. The name, you know, mountain ones. Anyways, I'm kind of starting to ramble a little bit. Maybe it's time I hit the switch and just call it. But yeah, yeah, I might just do that actually. I'm kind of like rambling about like things. Yeah. Actually, here's that back part that I was talking about earlier, where we're going to go and throw down a load of props, and I'll be honest, I do tinker with this a little bit off camera. We're gonna have like a little bit of a jump, not too far from now, because I went and placed a load of stuff down, and I wasn't really, I don't know if I actually might have edited that out, but I really wasn't happy with how it kind of looked. It kind of looked a little bit too, what's the word I'm trying to look for? It just looked like it was out of place, and I went and just totally ripped it out. In fact, it's going to come up in just a minute, so we can kind of see like the difference then. So as you can see, I got rid of them flower boxes that we had, and I just replaced them for like brick, because I figured it's right next to the harbour. We're probably gonna, we've got bricks behind it that are just thrown in there at the back, so I figured why not. And then this part, I'm just kind of just detailing around the dock a little bit, to be honest. I'll be fair, I actually don't know why I used them green shipping containers, because there's nowhere that the harbour can actually unload and offload them. So looking back now, it probably wasn't a good idea to actually put shipping containers down at this side. It was probably a better idea to just keep them at the other side of the dock. Now, I know on Google Earth, where I've just put them boats, there was meant to be a load more storage and stuff. But I'll be honest, it was at a really weird shape and angle that I just didn't like. Because I'm not great at building. I'm still like learning quite a bit. So I end up just calling it quits on that, because I did try a few things and I didn't like it. So I just paved over it, as you can see, and I figured it kind of looked better actually, because we don't have too many like boats around, and I wanted like this far left hand side to be more of like the fishing part of the dock, and I want the right hand side of the dock, which we're going to be coming up to very shortly, I want that to be kind of more where citizens would have like their boats, and then they could go out and get them and that type of stuff. So it was like a nice little split. So I've tried to do like the grey building in the bottom. I've tried to do that as like a fish factory warehouse such thing, which is why we've got the white vans next to it where they get the fish. Anyways, I'm like super trying to ramble, and I really need to get this mic sorted, because it's kind of bugging me knowing that it doesn't sound as good as what I could get it, and I don't think it sounds that great to kind of listen to, so I really do need to kind of work on it. So I'm going to thank you all now. Thank you for watching, and like always, I'll see you all in the next one.